Hey, what's going on? Keith here from Sports Vibes TV, coming at you with a special edition NBA trade deadline live stream. I'm joined as always by my co-host Stephen Fox. Foxy man, how's everything with you?
All is well. Shout out to you. Shout out to the chat. Shout out to the SV Nation. Yo, we added ourselves a dog to this team. I can't wait to talk about it. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. There's a lot going on right now, or at least was going on a few minutes ago with the end of the trade deadline here. Been a bunch of moves. The Knicks, for the most part, stayed pat. We just brought in Josh Hart, pretty much cleared out a lot of the guys at the end of the bench to bring in some more depth out there on the perimeter. So we'll get into the trade, see how you guys feel about it. We'll give our opinions as well, get into the details, talk about Josh Hart and how he could help benefit this team moving forward. And also, we'll talk about some of the deals that maybe didn't get done. Some deals were held up at the finish line because players didn't want to, or because the front office didn't want to include certain players. So we'll get into that, and we'll also see and discuss where the limit of this team could be now with the addition of Josh Hart. Are we still a team that's fighting and struggling to get into the play-in, or could we potentially be a team that can fight and get into the second round? So that being said, just want to give a shout out to all the people in chat. We've got the Morning Brew Sports in chat. Thank you guys for tuning in. Salute to Jesco. Big salute to Jesco. He's the one that recommended us or suggested that we do this special live stream. So appreciate you for that. Foxy, anybody you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, I see Craig, King Ja, the one, the only D's World of Hoops. You were mentioned Heck from Morning Brew Sports, and we'll be shouting out people as you enter the chat, and we'll be chopping it up. And Profit Mentality, just wanted to shout you out.
Now, in this trade, Cam Reddish wasn't included. I think that's somebody that we both knew was going to be moved in this deal. Did you, Foxy, expect him to be able to fetch a player of Hart's talent, or did you think that we were going to get the 2 second-round picks like it was rumored from other sources?
Once we attached that first round pick, I thought, yep, we could get Josh Hart. If that whether we're protected or whatever, I didn't know, and hopefully that just turns out to be a couple second round picks. But I'm just glad we got wish Cam all the best, but I'm glad he's gone and we got ourselves a dog.
Yep. So the Knicks now have Josh Hart, former teammate of Brunson, and just want to put on screen the details of the trade. As you can see, the full trade, Knicks receive Josh Hart, and the Blazers receive Cam Reddish, Zv, Ryan A, and a protected first round pick. So it's lottery protected, and if it doesn't convey this year, it defaults to 4 second round picks. So Foxy, when you heard this deal, what was some of the first thoughts that popped into your head?
I've always, being a college guy, I love Josh Hart, man. You know, he has a motor. I love guys that you don't have to worry game in, game out is going to bring it. He's fierce on the court. And I knew you're bringing Jalen, one of his brothers. So I thought it was a good move. We got rid of Cam. And everything else, basically, it's negligible. Obviously, in a perfect world, everyone wanted us to get a 6'8" wing, but they're just far and few, and that you just have to pay such a crazy price to get them. So we held tight, but we added a good player.
Yeah, but when I first heard the trade, I was like, damn, we had to attach a first to get rid of Cam. But so that to me had me a little bit stressed initially. But I kind of thought about it. Josh Hart can come in. He's going to be a solid defender. The 3-point shot isn't necessarily as knocked down as most of us would like, but he has that tenacious defense, and it'll definitely fit into Tom Thibodeau. And we have to remember that any trade this team makes right now, they have to fit into Tom Thibodeau's scheme, or it's going to be a wasted trade once again, i.e. Cam Reddish. So the fact that he can fit into this team defensively, I think, is a plus. And also we have the option to potentially, extend him or bring him back for some more years. And this trade also, it's a smaller move. It really doesn't sacrifice too many assets for us long term. Yes, we do have to include that lottery protected first round pick, but at least we still retain the Mavs first round pick, so we can still use that in the deal to get someone else in the offseason, or maybe even draft a player and add some more depth to this squad. So me personally, after I sat down, thought about it, I was okay with the deal, and I can definitely see how he can fit in and help this team out, especially on the defensive end where we've been struggling recently.
Yeah, I like that we finally are giving Tibbs his type of player. Cam was never Tibbs' type of player from day one. Kemba Walker was never Tibbs' type of player from day one. Evan Fournier was not Tibbs' type of player from day one. Josh Hart is. He's, I don't know, folks, if you saw Jalen Brunson's reaction when he found out at the ceremony at Villanova, it was so genuine and so wonderful. But if you watch the body language, he clenched his fist, almost like said, now I got a dog I could go to war with. Yo, get rid of these soft guys and bring me a real dog. So he was awful happy, and I think Knick fans are going to be happy not only having a guy whether on second team, but I'm also looking for closing. That he's definitely the type of guy that's going to be a real good closer for us.
Yeah, Jalen Brunson was definitely excited when he got the news. He was actually at his retirement ceremony for his jersey. A plethora of Knicks were out there supporting him. One person that wasn't in attendance is Cam Reddish, and you can see why. I was looking at that picture. I was like, I wonder if Cam is there when he's hearing the news. No, nowhere in sight. So, salute to Cam. But Brunson, I think, is definitely getting someone that he's familiar with from their time in college, and you can see how thrilled he was. Everybody in his party was happy, so it's nice to see that there's chemistry between those two. And I would expect Josh Hart to come here and start, so it would move Quentin Grimes to that bench, back to the bench. But I think that'll also help the bench, because it'll give some more offensive firepower to that squad. We know Grimes already has some synergy with some players on that second unit. Grimes and Deuce have played time together in summer league and things like that. So I think if you look at it big picture, it's a smaller move, but it definitely helps this team. And I think when you look at the way we're going to have to play basketball in the playoff, Hart is definitely going to be able to step up for us.
Yeah, and Tibbs has been doing some crazy stuff lately that I'm really impressed with. Although he took out Brunson,
You're
which
impressed with? Oh, I'm shocked. I got to hear this, Foxy.
well,
Do tell.
he benched RJ and do so, and I respected that, and he took out Brunson on a couple of defensive possessions at the end of the game, which is smart. So I could absolutely see, if RJ is not up to a game, I could see his closing with a Brunson, Grimes, and Josh Hart. Man, that's a tough thing. It changes everything from a defensive standpoint and from home. It's bothered you, me, and the SV Nation for quite a while that we're the dogs. We come from a heritage of Oakley and Mason stuff. Now we got that type of player back that, is going to be screaming like, hey, man, we got to play a certain way. This is New York Knicks basketball. We got to reflect. I love teams that reflect the identity of a city. And boy, Josh Hart brings in that dog that New York fans will love.
And you mentioned the closing lineup. I think one area that Hart is really going to help us is versatility. The fact that Hart can play multiple positions, he can defend multiple positions. You mentioned Brunson, Grimes, Hart as a closing lineup. Well, if Grimes' shot isn't falling as quick as, you can just swap those two and still have an extremely solid defensive unit. So I think this trade definitely helps us in the short term, and it remains to be seen how it will affect us long term. But I definitely do like this addition. And with Mitchell Robinson being out, you see the fact that, Josh Hart, one of the best, if not the best rebounding guard in the game. He's definitely going to help us with Mitch until he returns. And then when Mitch does return, it makes us an even better team rebounding wise. When we had Mitch on the squad, we were the third best team. I could see us becoming the second or the first best team in rebounding wise when Mitch does return from injury. So definitely things are looking up. It's a small move, but it's a move that pushes us in the right direction.
Yeah, and it's a culture move. I like that. Get rid of Cam and bring in a guy that's gonna, have a game face on, like Brunson. Like, we ain't playing. We're not gonna be smiling. We're not gonna be introducing ourselves to guys. It's ball time, and that's what I love.
Yeah. So let's get a little bit more backstory on Josh Hart. He can play the 2 or the 3. Born 3/6/95, making 27 years old. born in Maryland, similar state to Emmanuel quickly, so I'm sure they'll have some things to discuss in that regard. He's 6'5", wingspan 6'9", 215 pounds. We mentioned he went to school in Villanova, was on the team with Jalen Brunson, drafted in the first round for Utah with the 30th overall selection. He has a nickname Josh Barkley, and he's been in the league for 5 years. So he does have some veteran experience, but he's also young enough to fit into this core and this time and this team's timetable. So when you look at his contract, yes, he does have a player option, but if he shows that he fits in, I believe this team can look to negotiate and try to keep him a long term, because he can definitely be someone that can help continue to develop with us and also perform well.
Yeah, there are a couple of things we'll discuss in a couple of minutes, but yeah, there's some things that I think they feel very confident that they can retain them.
You want to get into it now?
Sure.
Let's look at the contract. Let me see if I can pull it up.
Josh Barkley. Rawr.
Right, Josh Barkley. That's a good one. So as you can see, he's being paid 12.9 million for the rest of this season, or for this season, and then he does have a player option for 23-24. So he could opt to pick up that option, stay here for another year, or if he balls out for the second half of this season, you expect him to decline, and then we would have to go to the renegotiating table. Now, Foxy, you mentioned something that would be in our favor when it comes to a renegotiating. You want to elaborate on that a little bit more?
Yeah, he's really tight with Leon Rose. Really tight. He's represented by Mintz, a CAA agent. So there's a lot of familiarity and a lot of love between Josh Hart and this front office. So I absolutely, like you said, could see him signing an extension next year, and him, and like you said, 27. He's entering to the prime of his career. You know, a few years, and he'd be a dynamite piece for this team going forward.
Yep. You look at this price point at 12.9. If he does pick that up, that's not a terrible salary to pay someone, especially with what he can give you out there defensively. And we talk about what he does defensively, but offensively, he's no slouch either. He's able to attack the basket, get to the rim, and knock down some points, knock down some buckets. So yeah, we harp on what he can do defensively, but that's just more so because, one, we don't know what type of scheme Tibbs is running offensively, so we can't even get into the nitty gritty of that. But we know in order to get minutes on a Tom Thibodeau squad, you got to play a lockdown defense, and that's something he can definitely do. So
Yeah.
to Ron Cleveland, man. Thank you for tuning in. We really do appreciate the support.
Yeah, and shout out to our friend JD. He sent me a thing that said Josh Hart is a great cutter, 1.49 points per possession on cuts this season, 85 percentile. So you imagine, and like we just said, having both Grimes, who's a wonderful cutter, and you've brought this up before in earlier this year on different streams of saying, why can't this team cut? Besides ISO, Grimes seems like the only guy cutting. So now to have a guy like Josh Hart, if somebody tries, coming at him, just like Grimes, he's great at closeouts, changes everything, man. Guys cutting to the basket, constant movement. I just love that. I love anybody from Villanova. They're just so well versus so many schools. Kentucky and Duke, I think they're just so overrated. That Villanova guys that come in, they're just really, they're just ready for the NBA, and I love that.
Yeah, we got a mixture of all three on the squad right now. Sort of leaning towards the Villanova Kentucky side. I thought we might lose a big contingency of the Duke squad. We'll talk about that a little bit later as well. All right, let's see what else we got going on here in chat. Bronx Root says we need longer wings. Aren't we tired of grabbing guards like they're must-have assets? We just got smaller. Well, technically, we got bigger because Cam, V, and Ryan A weren't playing. So to add somebody that's 6'5", even though it's not necessarily the tallest player in the world, but he's fairly big for a guard, and he plays above his size. Solid wingspan. You see at 6'9", he can definitely make things difficult for players. So I think, he's not necessarily a prototypical size you'd want from a wing, but what we've seen from him here in the NBA, he can still make the life difficult for some of the taller players in the league. We've seen Quentin Grimes give some guys difficult times, and he's also not necessarily the biggest player in the world. And I believe Hart has a longer wingspan, so I expect it to be a little bit more difficult for guys to shoot over Josh Hart than it would be for them to shoot over Grimes.
Yeah, and also just the physicality. The reality is the NBA is getting real soft. The players aren't like they used to be. So when you got tough guys like a Grimes and a Hart not afraid to bump their chest on you, it gets into some guys' heads. They're not used to that.
Yeah, for me though, I think the big question with this move is now what does it do to the rotation? You expect somebody to get their minutes cut. Is Tibbs going to open up the rotation, or is he going to stick with the 9-man rotation? Because you see that we gave up guys that didn't really play. And you look at Deuce, he was struggling to knock down his shot, but defensively he's been A1 for the most part. But now in recent games, Deuce has started to knock down his shot some more. So if we bring in a guy like Josh Hart, I assume he's going to start. You're going to move Quentin Grimes to more of a bench role. It's going to now put Deuce in a situation where he's going to be, DNP coach's decision moving forward, I would assume. Or do you think Tibbs is going to find a way to keep Deuce involved in the rotation?
Maybe situationally, but I think, like you said, I think he's the one that's going to be impacted most. I think we'll see more on second team of Quick, Grimes, Hart at the 3, Obi, and Sims and/or Hart.
And how do you think it'll affect Quentin Grimes minutes? Because I'm not 100% sure what Grimes is averaging since we made the switch and when he returned healthy, but he's got to be averaging right around 25, 30 minutes per game. So now if you have a guy like Josh Hart coming into the equation, I believe he's averaging right around 30, 32 minutes
33
per game. And so Grimes, he's going to take a hit too in terms of minutes per game. His role is going to be reduced as well. And we'll talk about it. The front office still views him pretty favorably in terms of trade value and things of that nature. So it remains to be seen how these guys are going to respond now that you have another guy coming in and supplanting Grimes into the starting lineup. But these are good issues. These are good problems to have, in my opinion.
Great problems. You play who, puts fire under other guys' asses to play the hardest and best they can, and who's playing the best, who's hitting their shots. They'll get the court time. If not, next guy up. So I love good competition. Brings out the best in everyone.
Yep. We got a super chat from Paige from Harlem. Thank you for the support. It says RJ at the 2, Evan the 3, off the bench equals 3 seed. Thank you for the super chat, but I'd have to greatly disagree with that.
Evan, I was about to say, I think he's drinking. I think he's drinking my apple pie moonshine. What's up with that?
Yeah, man. Evan can still be a coach's decision now at the end of the bench. They were actually looking to move from him, if you believe some of the tweets that were circulating. I think Evan Fournier, he has responded. He has played serviceably when he's been called upon, but I don't think he needs to be part of the regular rotation. Yeah. This offseason, we're going to move on from him as well.
If we can get somebody to take his $18 million, I'm with you. But hey, he's been professional. He's a professional 3-point shooter. He should have never been signed in the first place. As we said a few minutes ago, he was never a Tibbs player. He's not that type of player, man. We were better off not signing him and hanging on to Alec Burks.
Facts. Also, I saw my guy George in the chat. He says Tibbs is going to expand to 10 for at least a month. Maybe. I mean, I think that would be in the best interest of some of the young guys. Get them a little bit more play time while we try to integrate Josh Hart into the rotation. But I can't get a read on Tibbs, man. He does some wild things.
Yeah, I'd love to see him grow. Hey, you nailed one of my favorite takes you had so far this year is that, you talked about players development. What about Grimes, Tibbs development? So we've seen some things recently and maybe under stress things happen. Like, I'd love him. Hey, we've seen Golden State have 12-man rotations and stuff like that. So keep the guys fresh. And if he has, hey, we've talked about his 25 and 36 career playoff record. Hey, maybe he'll learn to say, let my guys come into the playoffs or play in playoffs at the end of this year fresher, and we'll have a better team and everyone's tight because they're playing. They're getting a few minutes and stuff like that, rather than asking somebody to come off the bench cold or because of an injury. So I'm hoping that George is right.
Facts. All right, we talked about his minutes per game so far, but let's look at the other stats that Josh Hart has put up throughout the season. All right, so far he's averaging 9.5 points per game, 8.2 rebounds per game, 3.9 assists per game, 1.5 turnovers per game, 1.1 steals per game. Now, when it comes to the shooting efficiencies, he's shooting 50.4% from the field, 30.4 from the 3-point line, 73.1 from the charity stripe, while playing, as you mentioned, 33.4 minutes per game, and his defensive rating is 115. So as you can see, the 3-point shot, he's not been able to hit it as much as we would probably like when he's in a Knicks jersey. If he comes in here and he shoots 30.4% from the 3-point line, I think there are going to be some grumblings. But if he's able to shoot closer to what we see over on that on the career list at 34.3, I think that would be a much higher clip. That would be better, help out our spacing a little bit more, because you can definitely see teams start to cheat off of Hart out there in closing minutes if he's not able to knock down the three efficiently. So that is one area we're going to have to keep an eye on. Hopefully he'll be able to improve here with the New York Knicks, but we'll see.
Yeah, and I had it. We have it in red, but that's right around league average from three, and he has averaged around 38 from corner threes in the past. So if he could do that, and with Brunson kicking it out and stuff, yeah, I really like this addition.
Yep. And for the most part, his career numbers don't vary too much from what he's been doing this season. Points per game is off by 0.3. Rebounds have definitely seen an uptick this season. Was it this season where we had that crazy rebound total against us? What was it, like 17, 19
Yeah,
rebounds? That
yeah,
it
yeah,
was a
yeah.
nutty amount. I know that for sure.
Enough for Tibbs to make notice and say, "Man, my God, that guy is the best rebounding guy I've seen." But I love the
That's a
thing on
fact.
the bottom on the green from a career, a 112 defensive rating.
Hmm.
Wow, that's right up Tibbs' alley.
Yep.
That's
He'll
right up
definitely
our
play
alley
well.
as New York fans. We want a guy that brings it every day like that.
Facts. Let me see if I can pull up the statement from Tibbs. Let me bring this down real quick. I don't want to spoil all the fun. Let's see. Is this it? Yep. Here we go. Boom. All right, so this is what Tibbs had to say on Josh Hart. Has Tom Thibodeau called Josh Hart probably the best rebounding guard in the league earlier this season? He's got a great nose for the ball, Thibodeau says. He anticipates well. He's strong. And you see, he's saying positive things about Josh Hart. When we traded for Cam Reddish, I didn't hear too many positives coming from Tom Thibodeau. So now when he's asked about this addition, I'm pretty sure he'll be thrilled, and he'll like the fact that he can bring a little bit more defensive tenacity to this squad.
Yeah, I don't remember anything he said about Cam, and we saw when he came here.
I
It's like,
remember he said we had some conversations about some things that I saw while he was in Atlanta, and I'm listening to Tom Thibodeau talk about it, and I'm like, "Yo, Tibbs, you don't sound too thrilled that Cam is in the locker room." And lo and behold, here we are, almost a year later, and now he's out here.
yeah, word. We got another super chat.
Did we? Thank you, Paige from Harlem. Appreciate it. Went to school out in Harlem, so always got love for Harlemites. Says starters: JB, RJ, JH, JR, MR. Too many initials. So we're gonna go Jalen Brunson, RJ Barrett, Josh Hart, Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson. Bench is gonna be IQ, Quentin Grimes, Evan Fournier, Obi, I Hart. Both lineups have three scorers each. Who is he considering the scorer in the second unit outside of Quick
Probably Fournier.
and
I'm trying to
Fournier?
interpret. Yeah.
Yeah, who would be the third? I wouldn't call Grimes a scorer per se, and Obi doesn't get featured enough for me to call him a scorer.
So I guess on that second team is going to be IQ Fournier
Yeah,
as the
the
scoring punch.
scorers. I'd still prefer Deuce out there.
Yeah, I think he'll
Defensively,
get.
more intensity, and you see that Deuce is starting to knock down his 3-point shot. If he can continue to knock 2 or 3 a game, he's gonna find himself he's gonna carve himself a nice role here in the NBA.
I got no problem with a Deuce IQ, Quentin Grimes, Obi, and iHeart
Second unit, yeah. But
second
we'll see.
unit. And sorry, Fournier, You could you could take this V roll now.
Facts, facts. Right now we've got 159 in chat and we've got 40 likes. Do us a solid. We'll try to get to that 100 metric, 100 like metric. If you haven't liked already, that would be a great time to do so. Just smash that like button. We greatly appreciate it. Let's see what else we got going on here in chat.
I see my friend Derek has a thing. Notice how Tibbs only referred to Josh as a guard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's interesting. But D had a great show today, and he brought up a excellent point that he's played almost all well, the majority of his time is at small forward though. This at the three,
like
so
77% or something like that.
Yeah. So thanks, D. Appreciate it.
Yeah, in a perfect world, you'd see Josh Hart at the 2, move RJ back to, well, I guess he's been playing the 3 for the most part, but we would prefer RJ to be moved to the 2 and have a bigger wing beside him. But it looks like we'll stick with what we've been doing when we had Quentin Grimes in the lineup, with Grimes, Hart at the 2 and RJ staying at the 3. And if you look at some of the other deals that went down, Sadiq Bey went for what, 5 second-round picks or something nutty like that?
This is the year. This is the year of the second round pick. You know, hey, don't forget Kevin Knox. It was 5 second round picks, and Knox is already on the way to Portland. So he went from Detroit to Golden State. So at least he's getting frequent flyer miles. But everyone's going. And you know what? This could turn out to be second round picks that instead of a first round pick that for Josh Hart also. So it's the year of the second round pick, man. It's crazy.
Well, if this doesn't convey, then we failed to trade, I would think. Because that means we weren't good enough to be non-lottery.
Yeah, that plus it's just crazy that we talked about Minnesota messing up earlier the year the trades because of a Gobert, but when you let the second pick in the draft go for 5 seconds, what are we going to get for Obi, the 8th?
Exactly. You saw what they went. What Ruby went for. You see what Bay went for. You see what Wiseman went for. And we'll talk about Obi. If you want, we can pivot there a little bit and come back to Josh Hart now. But the Knicks have to make a decision, because the longer we hold on to him and play him in this reduced role, the smaller the package we would get in return for him if we do decide to move him via trade. And it doesn't look like we're trading Julius Randle anytime soon. So I think now might have been a good time to make a bigger move and include Obi in the deal. And if not, we can always do it in the offseason. I didn't want the team to go too crazy here at the trade deadline, because I still think we aren't, I don't think there's anybody available right now that would automatically catapult us into championship contention. So I didn't think the big move should have been done now. But this offseason, we're going to have to make a pretty big decision on Obi Toppin.
Pretty big, but we brought up the last couple of streams that IQ next year is under contract for $4.2 million, so it's a steal for watch out further development. Obi's under contract for 6.8. It's another low thing. Julius has been really, really durable, but you just don't know what happens. I liked seeing their patience. God forbid Julius goes down for a spell. He comes in and he gels. All of a sudden, his value goes up, Obi. So I'd rather him stick around for another year at 6.8 next year than us giving him a number 8 pick away for a couple of second round picks. When you see Bones Highland going for only a couple of second rounds and some of the other things, you're like saying, wow, what the hell happened to value, man?
Yeah, we need to start hoarding some second round picks. We're hoarding all these protected picks. Keep your protected first. We'll just take the regular seconds.
Word.
It was ridiculous. But yeah, getting into Obi, Ian Begley, he dropped an article basically saying that now is the time for the Knicks to really make a move off of Obi. The longer we keep him, we're going to devalue him even more and more. And with the way Julius Randle has been playing, there really is no avenue to get Obi Toppin more minutes, especially when you have a coach like Tom Thibodeau that's not going to explore small ball lineups that are going to have both Randle and Obi out there on the court. So if we're not going to trade Obi Toppin this offseason, what do you see for him and his future with the New York Knicks? I know you're saying he's only $6 and some change million in terms of the salary, but the longer we keep him, the less we're going to get in return. And if we do let him get to free agency and get nothing for him, I think that's definitely going to be an issue in terms of us trying to build a contender long term when we're having our eighth overall selection leaving 4 years for nothing.
I'm with you. It was a head scratcher from day one. I thought we were going to take Halliburton or Devin Vassell when we had Julius, and we take Obi. And I'm like, all right, Julius, they're going to trade him, but never trade him. Julius, since then, has two All-Star seasons. So Obi's in a predicament, and with a coach like you said that's not willing to experiment, especially when you have a guy like if the problem with Obi, if Obi had shot blocking capabilities and defensive capabilities where he doesn't miss so many defensive assignments, Tibbs I think would be a lot more open to putting him playing small ball. But Obi on defense, he does. Tibbs wants to win games, and Obi's defense could lose you games.
And with you saying that, we have a pretty interesting tweet from Mark Berman, who is currently retired but still very much involved in the affairs of the New York Knicks. And here in this tweet, we see it says Knicks executive William Wesley has a love affair with Obi Toppin, and they set asking price way too high. Thibodeau still has reservations on Obi's basketball IQ. Now, you mentioned the last sentence talking about Obi's basketball IQ, but I would counter and say Julius Randle, we have some issues with his basketball IQ as well out there. Now, of course, Obi isn't playing the same way Julius Randle is playing offensively. But then again, Obi Toppin really hasn't been given the opportunity. So I know Obi has been issues out there defensively, but there's been a few other guys out there that have issues defensively, and they've been allowed to play through it and work through it. I mean, Clyde said it himself during the broadcast. RJ Barrett is, by the metrics, has been one of the worst players on our team, if not the worst player defensively, and he's been given opportunities to work through it. Obi Toppin unfortunately has not.
That's the license you get as a number 3 pick.
I mean, 3 and 8. Come on, I know. There's some a decent enough gap between the 3rd overall pick and an 8th overall pick, but still, you got to give the 8th overall pick an opportunity to learn and grow. This is halfway through year 3, and we really haven't seen Obi be put in any situation where he can showcase what he can do. And the only time we've seen that is when players were either hurt or we saw or they were dealing with COVID. And in those situations, Obi has played well, and we really haven't seen him been given an opportunity after that.
I think he's soft. I'm not an Obi fan at all. I think he's super soft, and I can understand Tibbs on him. I've seen small guys just treat him like nothing. Just bang him. Obi can't even post them up. I always thought he was a tweener. He's not, doesn't have the lateral quickness to play the 3, and he's not strong enough to really play 4 or 5. So he's phenomenal in transition, but he, hopefully we'll see other elements to his game, but he's so dependent on other players to be the best he can be. So I could see the way Tibbs feels about him, and Wesley loving him. Then fire Wesley if he's the reason they picked Obi over Halliburton or Devin Vassell. Then that dude needs to be fired.
I mean, I hear you. There are times when Obi is definitely soft. Or we talked about, what was it, Denny Avdija moving him out the way.
Thank you. Yeah.
So there definitely are moments where he does come off soft and has to toughen up a little bit. But we saw during his time in Dayton, the offense was run a little bit different for him. We only see him get opportunities in transition. That's because offensively in half-court situations, he's been told to be parked in the corner. But when we do see him involved in pick and rolls and things like that, you see how the attention he draws can open things up for not only himself, but also for other guys out there on the court. So I'm not ready to give up on Obi just yet, especially when we haven't, put him in a situation to succeed. So once we're able to do that, and I see he falters or something like that, then I can pivot. But until then, I still think this guy can go out there and give you some quality minutes, and more than just 14 to 16 minutes. I can see him giving a team 25 to 30 minutes of solid play, even with his faults defensively.
Well, that's what I was about to say, that I could see him lighting it up in transition and statistically on the offensive side saying, he's 17, 18 points, 5 rebounds. Yeah, that's really impressive. but he comes back on defense. Like, wow, if you score 17 and give up 19, you're not really doing a lot of good. So, but like we're seeing with Julius, I just don't see a future with him there, and especially without, weak side shot blocking and defensive help coming up, him leaking out. How many games do we see him? I stop, rewind, play again. I'm like, Jesus, he was leaking out before the play was over, literally. I'm not saying that fooling around. So, we love his dunks and stuff, but come on, man. We wanted to see some more mid range. We wanted to see his handles get better. We wanted to see some other elements, but especially, and then I mentioned Kevin Knox before. Hey, Knox is going to go from the Knicks and he's going to, he went from the Knicks, to the Hawks, to the Pistons, to the Golden State Warriors, to
And now
Portland,
to Portland.
and he could shoot the three. Why did he go to 5 teams? He misses his defensive assignments. And these young players drive me crazy. And Obi's one of them. Like, when are you going to learn in the NBA? And this isn't even playoff time where it gets real serious on defense. Nobody's going to tolerate missed defensive assignments. He smiles too much for me. I don't like like I said, Obi, I don't like a guy. If you watch Jalen, if the Knicks lose, he is upset. If you watch when the Knicks lose, Obi, the game's over. Obi's hugging hi, the opposition, he's hugging him and shit. It's like, yo, I like players that it hurts when they lose, and it never seemed to me with Obi that it hurts when the Knicks lose.
Foxy, man, I need more consistency from you. You say Obi smiles too much, and you say I don't smile enough. Which one is it?
I like you better than Obi.
I'll take that as a compliment.
If I was you and you had to work with me, I wouldn't smile so much either.
There you go, Foxy. But talking about Obi's value and what the Knicks are going to do with him long term, it seems like the Knicks were kind of close to potentially moving on from Obi this deadline. Here we have this tweet from Jake Weinbach. It says the New York Knicks are reportedly focused on acquiring two-time All-Star Zach LaVine from the Chicago Bulls. In the framework of a potential deal, Chicago would receive Evan Fournier, Derrick Rose, Quentin Grimes, Obi Toppin, and 3 first-round picks for LaVine and Goran Dragic. Now, I would be highly upset if this was the deal that ended up going through here at the deadline. I felt like this would have been one too much for a guy like Zach LaVine, and I felt like Zach LaVine wouldn't have been the best fit for this team moving forward. You see what he's have to be paid over the next few seasons, and I don't know how the fit with Brunson, RJ, and Julius Randle still being on the team would be. I feels like too many guys that need the ball in their hands to make shots and not enough minutes in the game.
Yeah, no doubt. Contract that knee. We had a stream on it, folks, a little while ago where we said that even after having reconstructive ACL surgery last year, he was still going around to other doctors because the knee gives him trouble. So you want to take on a salary like that of a guy that has a knee like that, who doesn't play defense like we need that we need a team to play getting into playoffs and stuff like that. So yep, he could light it up, but he had too many other things. So, Quentin Grimes, I love you. Thank you for being the person that didn't bring Zach LaVine here.
Yep. And also, just to give a quick look at what Zach LaVine's contract is moving forward. So for the remaining portion of this season, he's making 37 mil. 23-24, he's making 40 mil. 24-25, he's making 43 mil. 25-26, he's making damn near 46 mil. And then in the final year, he has a player option for $48.9 million. So I think that would have definitely eat up a boatload of our cap, and it would have been hard to continue to field a championship contender, I think, moving forward. You hear talks about James Dolan potentially selling minority shares. You read a lot of the articles here at the trade deadline. They're talking about the luxury tax. So it seems like the Knicks aren't trying to go out here and spend frivolously, especially when you're looking at the fact that he's building that sphere over in Vegas, which I'm sure is really eating into some of his finances. So for us to invest this much money into Zach LaVine, when it doesn't seem like we'll be willing to do what the Warriors are doing, going deep into the luxury tax to retain guys, I think this is definitely the right idea for us to not make a trade for Zach LaVine, especially looking at what it'll cost, both in
Yeah.
assets and in terms of contract.
Yeah. The best way I could describe it is with that, the green and the 45 million or 46, 48 million. That's two Mikal Bridges, folks. Literally. So would two Mikal Bridges make us better than one Zach LaVine? No doubt it. So get the hell out of here. Thank you, Zach. I wish you a good career, but just not here.
And you mentioned it. It seems like once again the Knicks are unwilling to move Quentin Grimes in a deal, and I would have been distraught if they made the trade because they didn't want to include Quentin Grimes in the trade for Donovan Mitchell. But then you turn around and you include him in a trade for a guy like Zach LaVine, who in terms of size, may be a better fit paired next to Brunson, who's a little bit smaller. But I don't see a increase in what we can do defensively by bringing in Zach LaVine over a Donovan Mitchell. So for me, it didn't make sense for us to try to now include Quentin Grimes in a deal. And you can see in the following slide, oh, not that one. Oops. In this one, it says the Knicks and Bulls have discussed a trade centered around LaVine per Jay Crowley Hoops. From my understanding, talks have likely stalled due to New York's reluctance to include 22-year-old shooting guard Quentin Grimes in a deal. So once again, front office high on Quentin Grimes, don't want to include him in a deal, but they're willing to bring in Josh Hart and then now reduce Quentin Grimes' role just a little bit moving forward.
Yeah, we just saw Josh Hart's contract. That's 4x what he makes, literally almost 4x. So it's just not a value contract with a guy with a knee like that and with defensive liabilities.
Mm-hmm. And we're assuming that Hart is coming here to start. I mean, with the way the Knicks have held Quentin Grimes in such high regard in terms of his market value, I wouldn't be shocked if we saw Hart come in and potentially come off the bench, at least initially.
I'm with you. I think that's Tibbs' MO. So I think we saw that with Cam. He didn't immediately crash it after the trade. And if, even though he's a totally different type of player, as we prefaced the conversation with, but yeah, I could see him coming on the second team and then working his way in, and then situationally where he feels more comfortable, knows the scheme and stuff like that. But I guarantee Jalen's going to be itching for him.
Facts. Morning Brew Sports says it still breaks my heart that we drafted Knox over both Bridges and SJ. Well, Bridges will now be a New York resident now. He's going to be over there in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
See, Jesco says I get nauseous just reading this. Yeah, it was a bad trade. There's no way that could have been discussed. Because me personally, I think fans would have been in an uproar. You're trading Obi Toppin, you're trading Quentin Grimes, and multiple first-round picks. I'm not worried about the salary dumping Fournier. That's something for Bulls fans to be concerned about. But to me, that's way too much.
And the only thing I was cranky about was maybe because of everyone trading second-round picks, that maybe we could have picked up Saddiq Bey.
Yeah. I saw that. I was like, another missed opportunity. Rui went for 3 seconds, and then you had Saddiq Bey go for 5. I'd have been gang ho for either one of those trades if the Knicks were involved. I think that's definitely something that could have helped the Knicks out moving forward.
Yeah, and then we just need to fire Tibbs, hire Jay Wright, and he has all his Villanova team with him. Jalen, Josh Hart, and Saddiq Bey.
I'm going to start Googling. Does Jay Wright have any CAA ties? Is he his agent?
I don't know.
If that's the case, Tibbs better be concerned.
That's a great point.
Yeah. I mean, Tibbs should already be concerned. He's on the hot seat as is. Any, slip up.
I got crazy last night because before hearing about the KD trade, did you see that tweet from Mikal Bridges when he saw that Josh Hart and Brunson are going to be back together? He had he had like a tear. It's like, damn, you guys are together and I'm stuck here. So now he's in Brooklyn. So at least they could have dinner comfortably. But
yeah.
Yeah, but it would have been something if we could have pulled something to get Bridges and then all of a sudden have Josh Hart and Bridges and Randall. Randall's a dog too, man, folks. I've been real impressed and stuff. So, yo, the dogs are back is right.
Yeah, here we
So,
got a throwback photo of Brunson and Josh Hart back in their Villanova days. So again, both of them have a lot of familiarity with each other. They know how they like to play out there on the court. They know their spots. So that's definitely something that's encouraging when he does arrive. And he's already over here listening to 100 Guns, 100 Clips. So he's feeling the New York vibes.
word.
All right, let's see what else we got going on. Kevin McLeod, thank you for tuning in. He says, "Yo, my brothers, thank you for pulling up. We really do appreciate it."
Hey, Kevin, I'm so sorry for your loss, man. Folks, just show the love to Kevin. He lost his dad recently,
Mm.
and we love you, man.
Yeah, my condolences, Kevin. I didn't know that. Sorry to hear. Let's see what else we have going on in chat. Chris Dada says, "What's up, fellas? Thank you for tuning in. We really do appreciate the support."
Yeah. Hey, Chris. Hope all is well. We have 189 in the chat, folks. Do us a favor. Please hit that like. If you have subscribed, thank you so much. If you haven't, as we always talk about, it's the one-stop shop for Knicks news, rumors, and analysis. Please turn on that all reminder bell so you don't miss out on any of the wonderful content from Sports Vibes TV. If you can't catch it live, please shout out to the replay gang. We love chopping it up. I have carpal tunnel for I think 180 comments from last Sunday's show streams and stuff like that. So thank you. We love talking Knicks with you and everything else. And last but not least, shout out to the best mods on the planet. We appreciate all you do.
Yep, salute to you guys holding it down. Mods always do a great job here on the Sunday stream. We really do appreciate you guys. Oh, here on the Sunday stream. I'm so used to streaming on Sunday and we stream it on a Thursday.
Yo, I've been drinking moonshine, so it sounded I was getting confused. Like I said, I'm on a moonshine diet. I've lost 3 days already this week. Yo.
All right. Let's see. That's the contract. Here we go. Josh Hart's on-off court stats. You can see he's having some of the best numbers here this season. He's +9 when he's on the court compared to when he's off the court. And then green is the team is worse when the player is off the court. So Foxy, just looking at this chart, anything?
That's what I love, man. Yeah, I love that. It's like, yo, they need him on the court. They're 9 points better when he's on the court versus off the court. So that's a winning type of guy. He's doing diving for loose balls, setting the proper screens, cutting to the basket, all those things. So he does all the right. And for his career, he's played on some really shitty teams. Yeah. So for him to have that plus 1.1 for a career, but this year +9, and that's not a really great team. Also, Portland, they're trying to find themselves. They have some, obviously Dame, but a few other things. So, those are winning numbers for me. That's a stat I always look at.
And this is almost full circle too, because I know a lot of Knicks fans wanted Josh Hart at last NBA trade deadline. Where was he on the? I believe he was still on the Pelicans at that point in time. Everybody was saying go after Lonzo, go after Josh Hart. So now to see him actually on the team, now we'll see how he'll be able to fit in, and I'm excited. I think this is definitely something that'll not necessarily alter the trajectory of this team, but it'll make us a lot more competitive in the absence of Mitchell Robinson. And I think it also helps solidify us as a playoff contender, especially the fact that, a lot of people, don't pay attention to the fact that the Nets also made, 2 big deals, and they're going to fall from the standards, I would assume. So I think they're ahead of us right now. Once they come down, I think it also makes us that much more, that stronger in terms of our bid to avoid the play-in. So that's what I'm looking forward to in the second half, to see other teams start to fall off and us try to avoid that play-in game. Because if we're going to go all in, avoid the play-in. That's the mantra.
That, like we talked about, minutes management. But if we can get hot at the end of the season, going into a play-in or playoffs, peak at the right time, and have a defensive mindset, if we can become a top 5, top 7 defensive team, anything can happen in a playoff. We saw with Dallas last year making to the Western Conference Finals. They got hot at the right time. Yo, I'd love for us to do that for ourselves. Hey, we just beat some big teams.
Yeah.
Philadelphia wasn't missing anybody.
Mm-hmm. Beat Philly, beat the Celtics, we beat the Cavs, we beat a lot of the teams that are ahead of us in the standings. So at least, heading into a series, we may not be viewed as the favorites, but at least we know we can go in there and win some games. And one game at a time. You win the first game, you win the second game, and you move forward from there.
Yeah, but you play tough New York basketball, anything could happen, and
Yeah.
especially in this soft league, man. Some teams just don't like it. A lot of teams don't like it.
Yeah. So here's also a chart we put together of his shooting frequency and his shooting accuracy. You can see a lot of his shots, majority of his shots are at the rim, 52%, 20% of his shots come from the mid range, and then you have 28% of his shots come from three. He's most accurate at the rim, shooting a whopping 70% when he takes shots at the rim. And you can see the 3-point percentage kind of down, 31% from the corner three, 30% from all other threes. And then mid-range, long mid-range, we don't really want him shooting those in the first place, but he's not shooting those great, 26%, and then 36% on the short mid-range. So Foxy, looking at this chart, anything jump out to you?
Yeah, I love a guy, we all, with RJ have issues of him, his elite ability to get the hole, but not to finish. And seeing a guy who could get to the hole, but he finishes at 70%, that's music to our ears, man. So I love a guy who finishes like that. And like you said, what we showed, historically from career, he shot historically in his career from corner, from three, better. So hopefully that'll come up. But yeah, I like his mix. So 52%, that's a high percentage at the rim, very small, 20% from mid range, and as we see from three. So we just wanted to give a flavor who he is, where his game is, and where he's good at, and where we have to just realize where he's not so great at.
Facts. Jesco has a pretty good question. He says, where do you think our roster ranks in a list that consists of Knicks, Nets, Heat, and Hawks? I'd probably go Hawks, Knicks, Heat, Net. What about you, Foxy?
It depends. I think Knicks could surprise a whole lot of people. If Mitch comes back healthy and he's able to have a run for the last 20 some odd games going into play-in / playoffs, Josh gets into it. We're dangerous. Trae Young, there's been lack of chemistry there this year. So, John Collins, they've wanted to move that guy. We're unable to move him again after another trade season went by. So that can't be a guy who's too happy playing over there. So we'll see. The Heat, they looked old the other day when
Very.
Jimmy Butler. I'm like, all right, he's saving him. Whoa, he doesn't have that gear anymore. That and
it was Bam, Hero, and everybody else.
Kyle Lowry look washed. So the Nets are not the same team. They'll be coming together and stuff like that. So I think the Knicks are really in a good position. Just it comes down to that minutes management. Please, Tibbs, use these players. What our guy George said a short time ago. Expand that rotation. Let us be as fresh as we can be. For the rest of this season. Use your resources properly.
Yeah. So that was a pretty good question by Jesco. So I'll put it in chat and see what everybody thinks. Like we say, the chat, you guys are the third co-host. You guys ask solid questions. We'll put them up and run a poll. Let's see what everyone thinks. Where do you rank the Knicks roster? All right, while we're doing that. Oh, that was the last one. All right. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, Morning Brew said Knox may get a ring before our team. Yeah, but I think it'll be out of a Crack-A-Jack box. It won't be on a court. Heck. Jean-Marc, man, hope all is well. Lex the Destroyer, one of the greatest mods in history. Hope all is well with you and your family. Chris Dada said, let's not forget about Cam Thomas. Chris, great point. But I've been watching Cam Thomas from his LSU days. He is such a gifted offensive player. Doesn't play a stick of defense, and literally. So it's very hard to win with Cam Thomas because of him being such a bad defensive player. He lights it up one way and turns the light off on the other way. So we'll see how that goes. but he is really gifted on the offensive side. That's for sure.
Yeah, I couldn't put everything in order. Takes way too much brain power to do that and try to hold the conversation. So I simplified it. I put top five in the East, 5 to 10 in the East, and then basement dwellers. So let me know what you guys think. Definitely a good question by Jessica. I was starting to write everything out, and I'm like, wow, that's a whole lot of combinations based on whether the Knicks are going to be first, second, third, or fourth. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to be able to do this in a 4 question poll, or 4 answer poll. So.
Hey, folks, I see our friend Heck from you see the Morning Brew Sports. He is spinning off from Knights of Deegan, even though they'll be sponsoring him. But I believe it's Morning Brew Sports. So do me a favor, please sign up. Subscribe to Morning Brew Sports. He won't be, he'll be separate from the past of Knights of Deegan. So do our guy Heck a solid.
Yep. King John 1985 says the Bulls rejected the Knicks offer for LaVine. No, I think the Knicks rejected the Bulls offer
Exactly.
For Obi Toppin and Quentin Grimes, because that was a doozy. The minute I saw that, I said there is no way these guys could be negotiating this type of trade, because that's like almost pushing all your chips in and saying this is all in. We're gonna go for broke this season, and I don't think even with Zach LaVine on this team, with Randall, Brunson, and RJ, that we'd be good enough to really be a championship contender. Like, yes, it'd be a dope collection of talent. I just don't see all that talent being able to work together for a common goal.
Yeah, I'm with you. Hey, I have some sad news. I see from our friend Jean-Marc that he lost his mom who had a heart attack. So everyone, please reach out to Jean-Marc. Please show, send some prayers for him and his family. And so sorry that you're going through this. Our deepest condolences.
Yeah, our condolences, Jean-Marc. Sorry to hear that.
Shout out to fabulous Phil Porto. Heck's co-host, one of his co-hosts besides Jigger Porto on the Morning Brew Sports. Phil's awesome.
Hey, we got our guy Lex in chat. Salute to Lex. Thank you for tuning in. Really do appreciate you pulling up. Jesco says the 5 seed isn't that unrealistic for us this year. I think we would stand a chance against the Cavs. So let me pull up the standings and see where we are. I believe we're 6, no?
I believe we are.
And then you had the Nets, who were what, 4th or 5th?
We'll find out in a sec.
Nets are 5th. So right now we're top. No, right now we're 7th. We're a half game behind the Heat, who are 6th. And in order to avoid the play-in game, you'd have to leapfrog them. So I would assume the Nets are going to come back. They're going to fall down. I don't think they're going to continue to be 32 and 22 and play at a pace like that at almost 60%, 0.60 winning percentage. I don't really see that happening. You would assume the Knicks are going to get better after this trade, and especially with Mitchell Robinson come back. So I think the only issue we would have to worry about, honestly, is not allowing a team like the Hawks to leapfrog us. I mean, the Raptors, they made a move. They brought back their center in Podol, but I don't think they're going to be able to be hot enough to leapfrog us. The only team we have to worry about, I think, moving forward is going to be the Hawks. So that makes it a even better question, Jessica, that you asked us. Because the Hawks, they went ahead and did try to get better at this trade deadline. They didn't move off of John Collins, but they brought in a guy like Sadiq Bey, another wing that they can pair out there with DeAndre Hunter, maybe give them that wing combo that they thought they were going to have when they drafted both Cam Reddish and DeAndre Hunter.
Don't forget Kevin Huerter.
Yeah, you also got Huerter out there. So, yeah. That's what it's going to come down to. How far the Nets drop, and how good are the Hawks going to be post-trade deadline. Even though they didn't make another big move, they made a smaller move. Similar to the trade we made, bringing in Josh Hart.
Yeah. Hey, I see David Ben Israel saying, first time watching, you guys rock. Thank you so much. We appreciate the kind words. Everybody do us a favor. Please, SV Nation, reach out and give David the proper welcome. I see Westchester's finest, Sherwin, saying, good afternoon. Grimes held up the LaVine trade. That's great news. We totally agree.
Facts. I would have been heated if we traded for Zach LaVine. I've been spending 2 years saying that this team should not trade for Zach LaVine. And if they were to go ahead and do it with that type of trade package, oh my gosh, seeing what players were getting traded for in terms of second-round picks, I would have traded those guys at the end of the bench for as many second round picks as I could and going after a Sadiq Bey or a Rui, honestly.
Yeah, I know.
Even
I
over a
saw.
Hart, even though I like the deal, I just would have preferred to play with a little bit more size, and with those guys have a little bit more offensive capabilities.
Yeah, when I saw George Hill go in, I thought maybe D Rose was going to go for a second round, but other teams beat us to the punch. So
Yeah,
those
are you
things
shocked we weren't
happen.
able to move off of Derrick Rose?
No, only because the NBA is about film. It's about scouting, and we love D Rose. I think he'll be a first time Hall of Famer and stuff like that. But he's washed on the defensive end. I still think he has sparks on the offensive side. Can't do a damn thing anymore on the defensive side of the ball. So you can't play go into the playoffs like that. One thing is having a spurt during the season, but in playoffs you got to play defense, and it's just I don't think within D Rose's DNA anymore to have that capability.
Oh yeah, and we mentioned Herder. We were met in Bogey.
Bogey.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I meant Herder was there. One of the early wings that they've gone through on their different things. They had Cam, he's gone. They had Herder, he's gone. You still have Hunter, who has history with injuries. They brought in Bogey, and now they have Sadiq Bey.
Yep. So the fact that they didn't move off of Derrick Rose, I think that was kind of shocking to me, especially when it sounded like the Bucks were going to go out there and try and bring him in for their championship run. I'm not 100% shocked Evan Fournier didn't get moved. There were some rumblings that included or involved his name in terms of or part of a larger deal. But for the most part, Derrick Rose is the biggest shock to me. I thought he was definitely going to get out of here. Do you think they're going to buy him out?
Maybe, but going, one's 18 million, when I'll round it off 14 million. At this time of season, teams just don't want to bring that type of thing on, or it's the type of money, and so it doom their chances of getting a fresh start someplace else.
Yeah, so the wackiest news story to me from this whole trade deadline was probably the fact that if we couldn't find a trade for Cam, we were going to buy him out. Like, how often do you see a guy that young with that much potential get bought out of a contract and allowed to go for nothing, for no compensation?
Well, we're Bronx boys. The thing that pissed me off is, why is that in the public? Nobody's going to do anything.
You're going to devalue the asset.
Yeah, so why the hell should I trade a second round pick? If you're going to dump him, I'll just buy him. I'll get him later. So I'm like, who the hell taught these boys how to play? You don't do that.
Why we saw him included in a larger deal. Trade second round, because I'm pretty sure Cam Reddish could be had for some second round picks. Rui went for 3. You could get one.
Yeah, I'm with you, but I'm with you. So I was shocked when I saw that. I was like, man, these guys, and they're agents, so they should know better.
Yeah, luckily it worked out for us long term. I like the hard trade. Yeah, we had to give up the protected first, but it is what it is.
Yeah. I see Sherwin said we could have gotten Sadiq Bey for the package we gave him for Josh Hart. Maybe. I think Sadiq Bey is a really good second team player. I think he has issues athletically that he can be beat. Everybody get beat in the NBA, but I think he's a really good second team 3. I don't see him as a first line 3. Shout out to a nudie. Good to see you, man. He stopped by.
It would have been a solid for Cam. Also, once you know what he says, the nudie says Tibbs would throw a tantrum if they trade D Rose. Well, he can't throw a tantrum and have the man parked on the bench. Let the man play. He's only got so many more, years left in the NBA. Allow him to go out there and show what he can do.
Yeah. See, Sherwin went to Stevenson. Sherwin says, I live in Westchester, but I'm from the Bronx. I went to Stevenson High with Kyrie's father. Yo, my family is DeWitt Clinton and Monroe High School.
Yeah, most of my family went to Stevenson when they grew up. Now they done broke it up into all kinds of schools within a school. Actually, speaking of Stevenson, Inf went to one of the Stevenson schools before when they had broken it up into different schools or whatever.
Yeah, Mitch's biggest fan, Inf.
Shout out to Inf. I gotta reach out to Inf, man.
One of the coolest, man. Hey, shout out to Roy, Hebrew Remnant, one of the sharpest Knick minds in all of the Knick fandom.
Yep. Salute to Raw. He says Hart appears to be a poor 3-point shooter. Well, let's put this slide back on the screen because this season he hasn't been shooting good, but for his career, he's been able to knock him down. So this
Almost
season,
at league average, yeah.
so this season he's shooting 30.4% from the 3-point line, but for his career he's shooting 34.3. So he's not shooting lights out, but he has the ability to knock down the three, and that's going to be extremely important with the spacing for the squad out there on the court.
Roy likes our graphics, man. So
Salute to Raw. He says, but Hart is a tough defender. Yep, definitely going to hold it down defensively. Going to be a big part of Tibbs' scheme defensively. That was the biggest fear. We were going to go after a guy that fit teams, that fit Tibbs' philosophy, but maybe might have been, I don't want to say like a Taj Gibson type, but somebody that didn't have a long-term future with this team if we did move off of Tibbs in the offseason. So, but at least we have a guy like Josh Hart that can defend, and I think is versatile enough to play within any type of offense that another coach may bring in, or a defensive scheme. So I think short term it works. Long term, we have the ability to extend him or bring him back for more years, and I think he'd still be a solid piece regardless of who's coaching or regardless of what front office we may have here at that time.
That's what dogs are about, man. The Patrick Beverleys, you don't have to wind them up, man. They're wound up themselves and they come out biting.
Yep. But all right, Foxy, we'll wrap it up there. Thank you all for tuning in. We didn't get to that 100 threshold, but we got pretty close. We got to 80, 152 in chat. Do us a solid before we log off. Smash that like button. See if we can get as close to 100 as we can before we sign off. Foxy, anything you want to say before we go?
Yeah, like you just said, hey, folks, it doesn't cost you a thing. Please hit that like. Do us a solid. You love us, show us you love us. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. We'll see you Sunday. We love, chopping it up with you. We have some good stuff we're going to have on Sunday. And can't wait to see Josh Hart. I wonder what number he's going to have because... 11 is Brunson, and I wonder if he's gonna give Trevor Keel some money so he can get number 3 or something like that. So I was wondering what number he's gonna be getting.
I mean, I don't think Keels has much say in the matter. We traded him first for this guy. He's getting whatever number he wants. It's not already occupied by somebody on the NBA team.
Yeah,
we'll on a two-way. You gotta get that number up, bro. I got seniority.
Hey, Trevor, we got 22 and a half. You can have that number. That one's open.
Facts. And we should be good for 6 o'clock this Sunday. There's no game on Sunday. The Knicks play
except the Super Bowl.
Oh shit, Taki Mushrooms. Yes, you're right. The Super Bowl.
Yo, and I have a really good boy. The whole time my crazy pup has been laying in my lap and not interrupting. I said to Keith, yo, I think my boy is going to go crazy, but he's only going crazy during the last minute, loving to giving me kisses and stuff like that. So we'll see. Hey, not everybody loves football. So if you don't love football, you come hanging out with us.
Yeah, plus, by the time we wrap up, you still have about an hour and a half before kick?
I don't even know. I'm not into football so much anymore, so I don't even know what time the start time
start time is 6:30. I thought it was at 8:30.
Right. Yeah, I thought it was usually around that time. So they get So we'll see. We can maybe do it a little earlier again or whatever. We'll figure out something.
We'll do it out like 5. 5 work for you?
5 works for me.
All right, bet. I like that we can negotiate live so everybody knows there's full transparency here.
Yeah.
All right, so Sunday at 5, tune in, and we'll be wrapped up by 6:30 so you can enjoy your Super Bowl festivities.
You got that right. Right. Hey man, everybody, thank you so much again for your support. We super appreciate it. And hey, we wish we got a wing, but at least we got a guy that's going to add to the culture. He's going to bring it every game, and Brunson has a big smile on his face. So if Brunson's smiling, then that's the Brunson seal of approval is always good for me.
Yeah, he's definitely hype about it.
Yep.
All right, thank you all for tuning in. Until next Sunday, 5 p.m. I'm Keith, joined as always by my co-host Stephen Fox, and we're out.
Love ya.